In my head, it's been so long since I've done one of these. Hi, my name is Brooklyn Kelly, and I'm back with another In My Head series. I was sent a pack of beats, like 7 beats, from my friend Sal. And I remember that night I sat on my bedroom floor in my first ever apartment in LA outside of college. It was just absolutely drained. It was one of those things that I freestyled in one sitting. Him and Danny were working on the project a lot and vocal tracked Kiana and Aaron, and that's who you hear in the background. Kiana and Aaron represent voices, the masculine and the feminine, the tide between the two, kind of range between like a higher range and a lower range. They both kind of shift through the water. So it was really nice to have those elements as well, the ever-shifting roles that people play in our lives. Cue the tears. Prettier was written for my 15-year-old self. It was written for that part of me that I didn't realize needed a voice. I didn't really know what I was writing at the time. Prettier is a metaphor. I don't want it to be taken too literally. I wrote this song nearly 3 years ago now. I understand now that it is for someone that may feel like they aren't enough. In my experience growing up, I came from an Asian American background, specifically Filipino American background. I never really felt like I was enough. If anyone can relate to kind of feeling like their goalposts are always moved, that their success is never enough and it's always defined by someone outside of them, it's really a beast that I had to conquer and had to redefine myself around. Exploring Prettier from that subconscious place was so interesting, so beautiful that I get to relive the song through that lens and kind of alleviate any pressure or any anxieties from it. I had the privilege of recording it here in Girl Sound Studios. When I was in the studio, actually in this exact booth, I ended up having a mini panic attack in the middle of the session. Every single take has my anxiety written over it. I wanted to honor the feelings that I had, so I did not want to re-record it after I had my panic attack. I wanted to keep everything in there because that was the most authentic sound. There's a lot, so it's really hard to say. It could have been called Prettiest, or maybe if I was pretty, you would be here more. Like, you know, Prettiest has a hard stop with like, I'm the top, I'm the best, and maybe if I was pretty, like that's just it, right? Prettier, the ending, the suffix er, implies that there's always more to be attained. This idea that you're never going to be enough. It adds that extra layer of language to it. Another aspect that I really loved was such a heartbreaking song and how much you can get to the center of it if you replaced the word pretty or prettier with enough. Maybe if I was enough, you would be or more. I want to be enough. I want to be enough. Why can't I be enough? Ironically, enough was not a pretty enough word. The cover art is one of my favorite things that have come to be. This song talks about the subconscious. There's ocean waves sampled. A lot of the times the ocean is linked to subconscious, you know, the unconscious waters in our mind. I was able to use Yuck Studios. A friend of mine, Josh LaCour, otherwise known as Bow and Arrow, was so gracious to let me, use the space. Brought out this beautiful mylar, which is that flimsy, reflective material that you see. I was playing with it in the studio and just singing the song because it reminded me of water so much. And then my friend Jazz, thank you so much for taking that cover art. It was so fun to like play around with her and kind of figure out like what looked best. One of my favorite aspects of the cover art is when you can see that I'm looking into my reflection and my reflection is distorted. It's completely manipulated. Some of my body parts are farther away from me. My face looks like this, so it's really that idea of me feeling like I was a fish out of water. What is mirrored back to me? What do I see? What do I see of myself that I actually like? What do I see of myself that others project onto me? Exploring that with the cover art was just so much fun. I love anything that feels like I'm a mermaid. This song is very personal. It's very, very personal. This is just one of many of this project, High Priestess, and everything on the High Priestess project is very, very vulnerable. Not that my other songs weren't vulnerable, but I definitely took vulnerability to another level with these projects. I'm thrilled of other people receiving it well because it gives them a sense of hope, a sense of comfort in their own experiences, which is all I could ever ask for. I wrote a song that I wish my 15-year-old self had, and so if I'm able to save a couple people and help comfort and heal themselves on that level, then it's amazing. The project ended up landing in Brady's hands as well, where he took it on its head, and it was really cool how he was able to make it sound like I was on like a little life raft in the beginning. Like when I hear the opening, I imagine myself like on a life raft, like needing help, putting out an SOS to this guy because I'm like lost at sea. At the time SZA released SOS, the way that she was so frank on the tracks and how blunt she was, I was like so courageous that she's this, you know, blunt about things, and I can also be this blunt about things and just be this raw. Once I collected all the elements, you know, working with Sal and Danny, and then having Kiana and Aaron on the track, and then having Brady, I handed it over to James. James and I met through work. James made Prettier sound like how it's always sounded in my head. He did a fantastic job of mixing it and really balancing everything out. It just sounds like I'm submerged in water. It sounds like being pulled in all these different directions with the tide. Make sure to stream Prettier on all platforms. Goodbye.